Okay, so this is part 6. When a woman stalks a man, legal system, mental illness, spirit children, and hoodoo. So now the process begins, where first I need to serve this individual with a summons, because if she doesn't receive the summons and she's not legally informed that there's a case against her, then the case can't move forward. She's homeless though, so I don't know where she is. I have 14 days to serve her a summons, but I don't know where she is. I know she came from Kansas. I don't know where she is. I don't know where she's staying temporarily and so forth. I don't know if she's still in the city. I don't know what's going on. So at some point, a friend of mine who has a business, she ordered something from my friend. I told my friend about what's happening, and she said, oh, she ordered something from me. And I sent it to her in Washington, D.C. I sent it to this particular address. And I'm like, okay, she must be staying in Washington, D.C. It turns out that she relocated to Washington, D.C. to stalk me. So she gave me the address. So once I got the address, I learned from the police how they attempt to serve people. So the officer told me, you need to drive over to that district, park in that area, call 911 so you can get police officers from that particular district. They'll come meet you. They take the documents, the serving documents and so forth, the summons. Then they go into the place and try to serve the individual. So I went over to that district in that neighborhood, called the police, waited for like 40 minutes for them to come. They came and got the documents and they went to the address. Now it turns out that this is a woman's shelter. So we went on a number of occasions. I can't go, they have to go themselves. First time they went, the person at the front desk says, well, we can't confirm or deny the identity of anybody who, stays at this facility. So the police come back and say, listen, we can't. They said they can't give out that information. We can't make them give it out. So another time I go back with the police and so forth. They take the documents of different police officers. They go in and the man at the front desk said, oh yeah, we know her. She's here every day. She's not here tonight, but she's normally here every day. So yeah, she's always here. Just come back tomorrow. She'll be here. Normally they have to be here by 7 p.m. in order to get their bed. She didn't make it this, in time this time, but she'll be back tomorrow. So just come back tomorrow around this time. She'll be here. And they were like, okay, we'll be back tomorrow. So I came back the next day, called the police. Another couple of officers came, got the documents, went inside the shelter. It was a different person at the front desk. They said, we've never heard of this person. So it was clear that she had the ear of certain people who worked there and other people she didn't. She would probably tell certain people, this is my ex-boyfriend and he's trying to stalk me. So please don't let him know I'm here and so forth. So eventually I went to court. It was twice. The first time I went to court, I said I tried to serve. We just found out that the first time I went, I said, we didn't have an address on her, but just before this court date, I found out a possible address. So can I get an extension for a certain number of days so I can try to serve her at this address? They gave me a continuance. They pushed the date back for 2 more weeks. That's when we tried to serve her on multiple occasions, like 3 days in a row and so forth. Then I went back to court. My case was called and I told the judge, well, we tried to serve on multiple occasions. This individual is clearly evading service. The judge was like, well, we can't keep continuing it. And I acknowledged that and I said, well, I appreciate that. If we can just dismiss the case, and then I'll try to figure out if I need to pay a process server or figure out some kind of way to get to this individual. She said, okay, I will dismiss the case without prejudice. That means that if you need to file, you can refile right away. And I said, thank you, and that was that. So the case is dismissed until I can figure out how to serve the individual. So the next evening when I came home, I opened up my door and there was a packet on the floor. And when I looked at the packet, it was from the stalker. So she has been back in my building again. She got inside. She slid a packet up under the door And this is what was in the packet that she slid under the door. Okay, so you can see it says legal notice. Let's read what this document says. And of course, that legal notice is a nonsensical title that she just put in red as though it's some legal notice, which is not. She says, Odwirafo, the purpose of this correspondence is to notify you of definite litigation against you in the future for frivolous prosecution in superior court case and defamation of character for derogatory social media posts regarding her if you fail to take recommended action as stated in the correspondence and which is being supported by the superior court. And then she mentions some stuff about the superior court and so forth. She says the superior court has agreed to perform mediation free of charge to prevent the aforementioned litigation because I have advised all matters of contention between us are exclusively the product of compounded misunderstandings. I truly believe if you do 3 simple things, download and read the book, Blacktown Movement, read the website in its entirety, and register for a free PACER account and review all documents filed in Kansas District Court, practically all matters of contention between us will spontaneously disintegrate if you are willing to participate in free mediation as offered by Superior Court located at this particular place. After performing the recommended tasks, please call this number and schedule an appointment prior to December 17th and reference Superior Court case number along with my supplied contact information. It is my hope that we will be able to resolve all matters of contention between us without further need for litigation, if for no other reason than in the best interests of the Black people we both profess to love, serve, and represent in integrity. Okay, so of course this is idiotic, pure nonsense. There's no mediation offered, total fraud. She's trying once again to force me to read her silly book about her fraudulent ownership of land which she has no ownership over. She wants to force me to work with her. Just like she did with the Wyandotte County government. She's trying to I guess she thinks she's a soprano or something. She's gonna force them. You got 30 days to get out of town or we're gonna litigate. We're gonna hit you for billions of dollars. You're gonna have to bow down to what I say or else you're getting hit with this litigation. She's telling me, if you don't do what I say, you're gonna be sued for, defamation and malicious prosecution. All nonsense, foolishness. She has no case, of course. And then she tells me what I have to do in order to avoid these serious consequences. Laughable. But look at the second page or the third page of this document. So if you're unfamiliar, what that is a printout of the court docket. It's a printout of every instance wherein I appeared before a judge leading up and including the dismissal. The court was dismissed the day before, and the very next night when I came home, this was under my door. So what she was trying to say was, oh, I know you were trying to find me. I know you were trying to serve me. Every time you came to the shelter, I knew you were there. But I was evading service. And I know every time you went to court, I know what happened, when you got a continuance, and when the case was dismissed. And as soon as the case was dismissed, boom, I'm right back at your house and there's nothing you can do to stop it. I can pop up here whenever I feel like it. You better do what I said. So that's the narcissistic criminal calculation that she goes through. So following that, she sent out an email to myself, but also tagged a number of elders and eldresses and people who are connected with me in the community. Now, of course, they all know that this person is a mentally ill stalker and scam artist. But being that narcissistic personality that she is, of course, she sent the email anyway. Now, we're going to read the email and look at the contents and the approach of this email. She says, "Great uprising. This message is to advise that I have fully investigated and responded to the information you provided in your last message, which stated Kwesi Akhan had obtained a frivolous restraining order against me. Please be advised that this petition for a restraining order has been dismissed and will not be granted if refiled because I recently visited the court in person to shed light on the extenuating circumstances regarding my interactions with him. The Superior Court promptly responded by offering to facilitate mediation between Kwesi Akhan and myself, free of charge, to resolve conflict between us, and because I have legal grounds to file suit against him for defamation of character and malicious prosecution. Yet, to the best of my knowledge, Kwesi Akhan has ignored the court's offer. I cannot stop your or Kwesi Akhan from spreading misinformation about me in your respective social circles or via social media, but I can copy elders, elderesses, and peers you respect on this message to convey numerous requests that both you and Kwesi Akhan consider the possibility that your beliefs about me are flawed because they are 100% based upon compounded misunderstandings and miscommunications. May they judge between us." Now, for the past 7 years, I've worked tirelessly on behalf of Black people to reclaim sovereign land stolen from us by filing an onslaught of cases in federal court. And I've spent most of my life volunteering my services and resources to Black people despite my circumstances of enslavement and with little to no support. I truly believe if you do 3 simple things: download and read the book Blacktown Movement, read the website, and register for a free PACER account, review all documents filed in Kansas District Court, almost all matters of contention both you and Kwesi Akhan have pertaining to will spontaneously dissipate. And then she starts telling this fraudulent narrative as someone who was human trafficked at birth and in turn birthed and raised all of her children while enslaved. I only recently gained my independence through the power of Etchi sign ancestral religious reversion. Before that time, I tried several occasions to drop hints about the circumstances of my enslavement to members of the ancestral religious community because I could not be direct for threat that my children will be sold or murdered. I specifically sent Kwesi Akhan coded messages, one of which specifically advised that I had never liked any man I ever dated, married, or had intercourse with. I even openly confided in him that my children and I were receiving constant death threats. I spent more than 40 years as a physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually abused and sexually exploited prisoner of war in what appeared to others as a normal life. However, my life was anything but normal. To make matters worse, my children were promptly sold after I sought refuge within Ojiraman by showing up at Kwesi Akhan's house unannounced in October. It is not fair that I should continue to suffer ostracism and disgrace at the hands of members of the ancestral religious community. Various instances I was forced to misrepresent myself and commit offenses against you, Kwesi Akhan, and others under threat of the sale and murder of my children. Simply stated, my heart is pure and I love each of you. I never meant to disrespect or harm anyone, any recipient of this email, a Black person in general, but not everything we see, hear, or experience can always be taken at face value. Sometimes there truly is another side to the story, and this is one of those rare cases. And she goes on, and then she talks about some other things. So, a couple of things. First, she tells the people, I went down to the court. He filed a frivolous lawsuit. He can't refile it because I explained to them what happened. They agreed with me, and they agreed to offer mediation. If he doesn't want the mediation, I'll file a lawsuit, but he can't refile that case because I took care of all of that. While she was typing that, she didn't realize that I had already refiled the case, and she was under a restraining order at that moment. So she was lying to the people the entire time. Now she talks about the Blacktown movement and all this, and what you need to do, you need to read that book, look at this case, you need to obey me or I'm gonna sue, but I'm reaching out to all these different people to try to get them on my side. The other thing is, as mentioned in the book, she starts weaving this fake narrative that she's been enslaved for 40 years and her children were born into slavery and she was coming to my house to escape slavery and she had to send coded messages to not throw off her enslavers, and she was trying to send me coded messages say, hey, I'm enslaved, but what she was really saying is, hey, you're my divine complement and I want to live with you. But she really tried to send coded messages to let me know, hey, I've been in slavery since I was born and I tried to escape with my kids, but it didn't work. And when you sent me back to Kansas, my children were promptly captured and sold into slavery right after I got back from Kansas. Of course, her children are fine. They're not in slavery. She was never in slavery. When she was driving Uber or Lyft and, DoorDash and everything else, she wasn't in slavery then. Pure nonsense, but she's building this narrative. It started off with when she left my house and had to walk through the rain and get on that bus and go back to the train station. Oh, I thought the spirits told you I was coming. That's number one. Number two, I thought you knew we were in danger because the spirits told me that they told you we were coming. That 3 hours from 9 p.m. in the rain to 12 a.m. when she was at Union Station, and she had to figure out how she was going to explain to especially these sisters who helped her raise money to, come to DC, thinking that we were going to be together or I was going to just be, magnanimous and assist her. How was she going to explain to them if she tried to move in with me, somebody they respect, with her 3 kids and try to force her way into my life? That's when this whole 40 years a slave narrative came up. And she expands upon this and expounds upon this in great, ridiculous, asinine detail. And we're going to get into that. But as she's typing all of this, saying I can't file the case has been filed. So when I go back to court, I file a motion for alternative service. So for people who are going through the court process and you're trying to serve the person that's stalking you and they're evading service, and you keep going back to court and the judge is saying, well, we can't keep continuing this. If you can't serve them, we're going to have to close this case. And they're banking on that to happen because once the case is closed, then they pop up again at your house. They pop up at your job. They pop up at, the grocery store. They're harassing you, being violent and so forth. So there's a motion you can file called a motion for alternative service. If you've put forward a diligent effort to serve the person, and I can show and demonstrate that I put forward a diligent effort, and we can show to a certain extent that they are evading service, then the judge has the discretion to grant your motion for alternative service. And that means you don't have to find them. You can simply email them or text them, and that constitutes the serving of the summons. And once you text them or email them the summons, they are now bound to come to court. And if they don't come to court, then the judgment will be in your favor. I not only filed that motion for alternative service when I went to court and spoke, to the judge and so forth. She saw the diligent efforts I made going to the shelter on 4 different occasions with the police and so forth. But then I also submitted this particular email as evidence. And she starts off arrogantly saying, well, he's tried to file this frivolous temporary protection order. I'm sure the judge didn't appreciate this protection order that she granted being called frivolous. And then she arrogantly states, well, he's not able to refile because I went down to the court and explained everything. And, he's going to have to do as I say, or I'm going to file a civil suit against him. When she read that, she said, you know what? I'm going to grant you this motion for alternative service. You can email her, you can text her, you can serve her in that fashion. That's exactly what I did. And now she was bound to come to court. She was forced, she was compelled for the first time to face law enforcement in the context of the courts.